Imagine standing in the rubble of a bombed-out city in 1945. The air is thick with dust, the silence is heavy with loss, and the future feels impossibly bleak. This was the reality for millions of Europeans after World War II. The continent had torn itself apart not once, but twice in just 30 years. Generations were lost, economies were shattered, and deep-seated hatred and suspicion poisoned relations between neighbors. It was from this profound despair that a radical, beautiful idea began to sprout. Visionary leaders, people who had witnessed the horrors of war firsthand, dared to ask, what if we could make another war between us, not just unthinkable, but materially impossible? This wasn't just about rebuilding. It was about reimagining the very way European nations interacted with one another. This dream was about more than just preventing another conflict. It was about building a shared prosperity that would lift everyone up. The thinking was wonderfully simple and yet revolutionary. If our economies are tangled together, if our industries depend on each other, we won't want to fight. French statesman Robert Schuman, one of the EU's founding fathers, proposed a brilliant first step. He suggested that France and Germany, historic enemies, pool their coal and steel production under a common authority. These were the very materials needed to wage war. By sharing control over them, they would be forging the first links in a chain of peace, a practical step towards a more hopeful future for all of Europe. The desire for lasting peace was the emotional heart of this new European project, but there were practical motivations as well. The Cold War was beginning to cast a long shadow across the continent, with the Soviet Union looming to the east. The nations of Western Europe realized that by standing together, they would be stronger and more secure. A united Europe could better defend its democratic values and stand as a powerful bloc on the world stage. Furthermore, there was a shared ambition to reclaim Europe's place as a beacon of culture, innovation, and economic dynamism after the devastation it had endured. The goal was to create a community of nations, bound by common values of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. So the journey began not with grand pronouncements from a king's palace, but with a practical plan born from necessity and a deep yearning for a different way forward. It was a commitment made by former enemies to sit down at the same table, to talk instead of fight, and to build something new together. This initial spark of cooperation, this decision to choose partnership over conflict, was the seed from which the entire European Union would grow. It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and a vision for a better world can lay the groundwork for a brighter, more peaceful tomorrow for millions of people. The first concrete step on this journey was the Schuman Declaration in 1950, which led directly to the Treaty of Paris in 1951. This treaty created the European Coal and Steel Community, bringing together 6 founding countries: France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. By placing their coal and steel industries under a single supranational authority, these nations made a powerful statement. They were literally weaving their economic fates together, making war between them practically impossible. This was more than just a trade agreement. It was a peace project in disguise, a bold experiment in shared sovereignty that proved incredibly successful in fostering trust and cooperation among former adversaries. Building on the success of the ECSC, the same 6 countries signed the Treaties of Rome in 1957. This was another giant leap forward. These treaties established 2 new communities: the European Economic Community, often called the Common Market, and the European Atomic Energy Community. The EEC was the real game changer. Its goal was to remove trade barriers and create a single market where goods, services, capital, and people could move freely. Imagine trucks that once waited for days at borders now driving straight through. This was the vision, and it began to unlock incredible economic potential, setting the stage for decades of growth and prosperity. The Union didn't stay at 6 members for long. As its success became evident, other countries wanted to join the club. The first major enlargement came in 1973, with the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Denmark joining the community. This was followed by Greece in 1981, and then Spain and Portugal in 1986, all of whom had recently emerged from dictatorships and saw the EEC as an anchor for their new democracies. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 opened another historic chapter. a wave of Central and Eastern European countries, finally free from Soviet influence, eagerly sought to rejoin the European family. This culminated in the Big Bang enlargement of 2004, when 10 new countries joined, a powerful symbol of a continent healing its Cold War divisions. Over the years, a series of important treaties deepened the integration. The Maastricht Treaty in 1992 officially created the European Union as we know it today, and laid the groundwork for the single currency, the euro. The Lisbon Treaty in 2009 streamlined the EU's institutions and gave it a stronger voice on the world stage. However, the path of integration hasn't always been a one-way street. In 2016, the United Kingdom voted in a referendum to leave the EU, a process known as Brexit. This was a significant and challenging moment, marking the first time a member state chose to depart. It served as a stark reminder that the Union is a voluntary project, constantly evolving and adapting to the will of its people. The European Union is a stunning tapestry of landscapes, stretching from the icy tundra of Finland in the north to the sun-drenched beaches of Cyprus in the south. It spans from the rugged Atlantic coast of Ireland in the west to the vast plains of Poland in the east. This incredible geographic diversity means that within the Union's borders, you can experience just about every type of climate and terrain imaginable. You can ski in the majestic Alps that arc across France, Italy, and Austria, or hike through the dense, ancient forests of Germany's Black Forest. The EU is a continent of dramatic contrasts, a place where nature's beauty is on full display in every corner. Great rivers have acted as the arteries of Europe for centuries, connecting cultures and fueling commerce. The mighty Danube, Europe's second longest river, flows through 10 countries, including 4 EU member states, Germany, Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary, linking historic capitals like Vienna and Budapest. The Rhine River is another vital waterway, flowing from the Swiss Alps through Germany and the Netherlands out to the North Sea, its banks lined with fairy tale castles and sprawling vineyards. These rivers aren't just scenic wonders. They are crucial transportation routes that have shaped the economic and cultural development of the regions they pass through, and they continue to be lifelines for trade and tourism today. The EU is also home to some of the world's most iconic and historically significant cities. Think of Rome, the Eternal City, where you can walk through the ruins of an ancient empire and toss a coin in the Trevi Fountain. Or Paris, the City of Light, with its romantic boulevards, the magnificent Eiffel Tower, and the world-class art of the Louvre. Then there's Prague, with its stunning Charles Bridge and astronomical clock, a city that feels like it was lifted straight from a storybook. Each capital and major city offers a unique window into Europe's soul, boasting a rich blend of art, history, cuisine, and culture that draws millions of visitors from around the globe every year. Beyond the famous capitals, the EU's true charm often lies in its diverse regions. You have the rolling green hills and charming villages of Tuscany in Italy, a paradise for food and wine lovers. There's the breathtaking coastline of the Algarve in Portugal, with its golden cliffs and hidden coves. You can explore the dramatic highlands of Scotland, or the thousands of idyllic islands that dot the Aegean Sea in Greece. Each region has its own distinct identity, its own dialects, traditions, and local delicacies. This incredible variety is what makes traveling through the EU such a rich and rewarding experience. It's not just one place, but a vibrant mosaic of many different worlds waiting to be discovered. At the heart of the European Union's economic success is one of its greatest achievements, the single market. This isn't just a free trade area, it's a deeply integrated economic space designed around 4 freedoms. These are the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people. This means a company in Spain can sell its products in Sweden without facing tariffs or customs checks. A lawyer from Belgium can set up a practice in Greece. An investor in Germany can put money into a startup in Estonia. And a student from Poland can go to university in France. This system has torn down barriers, fostered competition, and created a massive home market of over 440 million consumers, making the EU one of the largest economies in the world. To make this single market work even more smoothly, many EU countries took another historic step. They adopted a single currency, the euro. Introduced for electronic payments in 1999 and as cash in 2002, the euro is now used by 20 EU member states, which together form the Eurozone. The euro makes life easier for travelers, who no longer need to exchange money every time they cross a border within the eurozone. More importantly, it simplifies business and trade by eliminating currency fluctuation risks between member countries. A business in Italy buying parts from Germany knows exactly what the price will be, making planning and investment much more stable and predictable for everyone involved. The EU's economy is incredibly diverse and advanced. With a strong focus on high-value industries and services, Germany is famous for its world-class engineering and manufacturing, producing iconic cars like Volkswagen and BMW. France is a leader in luxury goods, aerospace with Airbus, and tourism. The Netherlands is a global hub for logistics and agriculture, using innovative technology to become one of the world's top food exporters. Meanwhile, countries like Ireland have become centers for technology and pharmaceuticals, and Sweden is a powerhouse of design and innovation. This wide range of specializations means the EU as a whole is resilient and competitive across many different global sectors. Trade is the lifeblood of the EU economy. As a single bloc, the EU is the world's largest trader of manufactured goods and services. It has negotiated trade agreements with dozens of countries around the world, opening up new markets for European companies and ensuring a steady supply of raw materials and products for its consumers. The EU champions a rules-based international trading system, using its economic clout to promote its high standards for environmental protection, labor rights, and product safety globally. This commitment to open yet fair trade helps fuel prosperity at home while also exporting European values to the rest of the world. Understanding how the European Union is run can seem complicated, but it's based on a unique and carefully balanced system. Think of it as a government for the whole Union, but one where member countries share power. The EU doesn't replace national governments, instead it works with them. The main institutions are designed to represent different interests: the interest of the EU as a whole, the interest of the individual member countries, and the interest of the citizens themselves. This creates a system of checks and balances to ensure that decisions are made democratically and for the common good of all Europeans, from the smallest village to the biggest city. The European Commission is like the EU's executive branch or civil service. Based in Brussels, its main job is to propose new laws, manage the EU's budget, and make sure that EU treaties are being properly applied by the member countries. It's led by a team of commissioners, one from each member state, each with responsibility for a specific policy area, like agriculture or climate action. The Commission is meant to be the guardian of the treaties and to represent the interests of the Union as a whole, acting independently of national governments. It's the engine that keeps the EU moving forward with new policies and initiatives. Next, we have two bodies that act as the EU's legislature, a bit like a two-chamber parliament. The first is the European Parliament, which is directly elected by EU citizens every 5 years. This is your voice in Europe. The members of the European Parliament, or MEPs, represent the people, and they debate and vote on the laws proposed by the Commission. They also have power over the EU budget and can supervise the work of the Commission. The second body is the Council of the European Union, which represents the governments of the member countries. Here, ministers from each EU nation meet to discuss, amend, and adopt laws, ensuring that national interests are taken into account. Most EU laws must be approved by both the Parliament and the Council to pass. Finally, overseeing everything is the Court of Justice of the European Union, or CJEU. Based in Luxembourg, the CJEU is the EU's Supreme Court. Its job is to interpret EU law and make sure it is applied in the same way in all member countries. It settles legal disputes between national governments and EU institutions and can also be asked by national courts to clarify points of EU law. The CJEU ensures that the EU is a community based on the rule of law, where the rights of citizens and businesses are protected under a common legal framework. Together, these institutions form a unique system of governance, a continuous dialogue between the European, national, and citizen levels. The European Union's motto is united in diversity, and honestly, nothing captures its spirit better. The Union isn't about creating a single uniform European identity, but rather, it's about celebrating and protecting the incredible mosaic of cultures, traditions, and languages that really flourish across the continent. It's, a community of 27 nations and hundreds of regions, each with its own proud history, unique cuisine, festive traditions, and artistic heritage. Traveling through the EU is kind of like flipping through a living history book, where you can experience the folk music of Ireland, the flamenco dancing of Spain, the midsummer celebrations of Sweden, and the carnival festivities of Italy, all within one united space. Language, of course, is a cornerstone of this cultural diversity. The EU has 24 official languages, and it is truly committed to multilingualism. This means that any EU citizen can write to the EU institutions and receive a reply in their own official language. Important documents and laws are translated into all official languages, making sure that everyone can understand the decisions that affect their lives. This linguistic richness is a real source of great pride. While English is widely spoken as a second language, as you travel, you'll hear a beautiful symphony of sounds, the romance of French, the precision of German, the melody of Italian, and the historic resonance of Polish and Greek. To foster understanding and bring its people closer together, the EU created one of its most beloved programs, Erasmus+. This program gives young people, students and teachers the chance to study, train or volunteer in another EU country. For millions of young Europeans, an Erasmus experience is a life-changing rite of passage. It's an opportunity to learn a new language, immerse themselves in a different culture, make friends from all over the continent, and develop a real sense of what it means to be European. These Erasmus babies, as they're sometimes called, are building bridges of friendship and understanding that are far more powerful than any treaty. This shared cultural space also encourages a vibrant exchange of ideas, art, and creativity. European films, music, and literature cross borders more easily than ever before. The EU supports this cultural exchange through programs like Creative Europe, which helps fund films, festivals, and translation projects. This allows a best-selling novel from Finland to find an audience in Portugal, or a critically acclaimed film from Romania to be screened in cinemas in Denmark. This cross-pollination really enriches the cultural life of the entire continent, creating a shared European cultural identity that complements, rather than replaces, our national and regional identities. It's a celebration of what makes us different and what brings us all together. The European Union doesn't just focus inward, it's actually a major force on the global stage. By pooling their influence, the 27 member states can speak with a much stronger and more unified voice on international issues than any of them could alone. When the EU negotiates a trade deal, sets environmental standards, or responds to an international crisis, the world listens. This collective power allows the EU to effectively promote its core values, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law far beyond its own borders. It acts as a stabilizing force in a complex world, championing diplomacy, cooperation, and a rules-based international order as the best way to solve global challenges. A key part of the EU's global role is its commitment to development and humanitarian aid. Together, the EU and its member countries are the world's leading donor of official development assistance, providing more than half of all global aid. This funding supports long-term projects in developing countries aimed at reducing poverty, improving healthcare and education, and building sustainable economies. When disasters strike, whether it's an earthquake, a flood, or a famine, the EU is among the first to respond with emergency relief. This humanitarian assistance provides food, shelter, clean water, and medical care to millions of people in crisis, reflecting the EU's fundamental value of solidarity with those in need. The EU is also a proactive leader in diplomacy and security. Through its common foreign and security policy, the Union works to prevent conflicts, support peace processes, and respond to international crises. It deploys civilian and military missions around the world to help with tasks like police training in post-conflict zones, monitoring ceasefires, or combating piracy off the coast of Somalia. The EU firmly believes that today's security challenges, such as terrorism, cyber attacks, and disinformation, just can't be tackled by any single country. It therefore works closely with international partners like the United Nations and NATO to build a safer and more secure world for everyone. Furthermore, the EU uses its influence to lead the global fight against climate change. It has set ambitious targets for itself to become climate neutral by 2050 and actively encourages other countries to raise their own ambitions. Through green diplomacy, the EU pushes for strong international climate agreements, like the Paris Agreement, and provides financial and technical support to help developing countries transition to cleaner energy. By setting a powerful example, and using its diplomatic and economic leverage, the EU aims to steer the entire planet towards a more sustainable and environmentally responsible future, recognizing that this is a challenge that affects all of humanity. The journey of the European Union has not been without its share of significant challenges and crises. Perhaps the most profound challenge in recent years was Brexit, the decision by the United Kingdom to leave the Union. The 2016 referendum and the subsequent departure in 2020 sent shockwaves across the continent. It forced the EU to grapple with the departure of one of its largest and most influential members, and to navigate complex negotiations on the future relationship. Brexit also sparked intense debate within other member states about the direction of the EU, highlighting a disconnect that some citizens felt from Brussels, and prompting a period of deep self-reflection on how the Union can better serve all its people. Another persistent and deeply complex challenge has been migration. Due to its geography and stability, the EU is a major destination for people fleeing war, persecution, and poverty from regions like the Middle East and Africa. The migration crisis that peaked in 2015 exposed deep divisions among member states on how to manage the influx of asylum seekers and migrants. Countries on the EU's external borders, like Italy and Greece, felt overwhelmed, while others disagreed on how to share the responsibility. Finding a fair, humane, and effective common asylum and migration policy that respects both international law and the concerns of all member states remains one of the most politically sensitive and difficult puzzles the EU has yet to solve. The EU has also had to confront the rising threat of terrorism and the need to enhance its internal security. A series of tragic attacks in cities like Paris, Brussels, and Berlin demonstrated that terrorists can exploit the Union's open borders. This has led to a difficult balancing act: how to strengthen security cooperation between national police and intelligence agencies without compromising the fundamental freedom of movement that is so central to the European project. The EU has responded by improving information sharing, tightening controls at its external borders, and working together to counter radicalization, all while trying to uphold its commitment to an open and free society. Finally, economic disparities and crises have tested the Union's solidarity. The 2008 global financial crisis and the subsequent Eurozone debt crisis hit some member states, particularly in southern Europe, extremely hard. This led to painful austerity measures, high unemployment, and social unrest, creating economic and social gaps between the north and south of the Union. While the EU put in place rescue packages and strengthened its economic governance to prevent future crises, the experience left deep scars. Overcoming these economic divides and ensuring that the benefits of the single market are felt by all citizens in every region continues to be a crucial and ongoing challenge for the Union. Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, the European Union is focused on a bold and ambitious agenda for the future, determined to turn today's challenges into tomorrow's opportunities. At the very top of this agenda is the European Green Deal. This is the EU's roadmap to becoming the world's first climate-neutral continent by 2050. It's a massive undertaking that involves transforming every sector of the economy, from how we produce energy and grow food, to how we build our cities and design our products. The goal is not just to fight climate change, but to create new green jobs, spur innovation in clean technologies, and improve the quality of life for all citizens with cleaner air, water, and a healthier environment. Alongside the green transition is a parallel ambition: the digital transformation. The EU is determined to make this Europe's digital decade. This means investing heavily in areas like artificial intelligence, 5G networks, and supercomputing to ensure that Europe remains competitive and technologically sovereign. But it's not just about technology, it's about people. The plan aims to improve the digital skills of the entire population, help businesses of all sizes go digital, and create a secure and fair online world. The EU is pioneering a human-centric approach to digitalization, with strong data protection rules and regulations to ensure that technology serves people, not the other way around. Recent global events, including the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, have highlighted the need for a stronger and more autonomous Europe. The EU is working to build its strategic autonomy, which means reducing its dependence on other countries for critical goods like medicines, microchips, and energy. There is also a renewed push for greater cooperation on security and defense. While not aiming to replace NATO, the EU is taking steps to be able to act more decisively as a security provider in its own neighborhood, strengthening its ability to manage crises and defend its interests and values in an increasingly uncertain world. Ultimately, the overarching goal that ties all of these ambitions together is the quest for a more perfect, more united, and more resilient union. The future of Europe will be shaped by its ability to stay united in the face of challenges, to act decisively, and to deliver tangible benefits to its citizens. The Conference on the Future of Europe, an unprecedented democratic exercise, has given citizens a direct say in shaping the EU's priorities. The hope is to build a Europe that is not only greener, more digital and stronger, but also more democratic and closer to its people. The journey that began with a dream of peace continues with a vision of progress, a testament to the enduring power of cooperation.